And it has grab people, which is, alright. So, we just played Naya tokens with Hero in it, and I was kind of medium on Hero in it. This build is a more traditional Naya tokens deck with a splash. So, green-white tokens with splash for heroic reinforcements, kind of a go-over-the-top card. This deck is leveraging Growth Chamber Guardian, though, which I really like. I think this is one of the better green cards that we gained out of the latest set, and I think it's a worthwhile addition to here. The biggest upgrade that this archetype got from the new set, though, is we got better mana. So we have 10 red sources to splash this in nicely, whereas previously we were lacking Stomping Ground, which was a big deal. So let's go ahead and jam some games with this build and see how it feels. Squadron Crab is a good Magic the Gathering card. Just like reasonable play on 2, can let you be kind of aggressive. Also sets you up nicely to be able to generate card advantage when you need to. You have the best thank you for subs I've ever heard out of any streamer. Well, thanks, Nebula. I'm just honest, right? Like, I love what I do here, but the reason why this is able to be my job is because of the subscribers, so without the subs that I have, I would just be doing this part-time. So I think one of these Flower Flourishes is going to turn into a land for us, but the second one is probably going to save to ramp up here. So I see people in chat talking about Unbreakable Formation. I think that card's like okay-ish, but it also kind of competes with Heroic Reinforcements, and I think Heroic Reinforcements is a little bit better on average, just because it creates pressure, which is nice. It's not just, it's good on its own. Yes, the eyeball cards are ones that my opponent has seen, so I guess I should have played the land that they knew about. Why this one has an eyeball too, because they know about it. Yep. This matchup is probably pretty hard for this archetype. If I had to venture a guess. We don't have a lot of meaningful interaction for this matchup. They can kind of just fog us to their heart's content. Is there a good hero deck list people could point me towards? We've played a few different hero deck lists that have felt really sweet on this channel. We've played Bant Hero. We've played... we actually played a Naya aggro hero version. It wasn't token focused, but it felt pretty reasonable. Esper Hero in the hands of Wyatt Darby. Top 8 at the first SCG Open. Yeah, I agree that Tithe Taker is a quality Magic card for sure. So, like, my opponent is taking turns here, which is, like, kind of annoying. But at the same time, they're not really progressing their game state while doing so. They don't have an Arc in play. They don't have an Azcant in play. So they're really just, like, playing their Nexus of Fate to take an extra turn. So now they finally got to draw 2 more cards, but they're still just kind of spinning their tires. So until they get some kind of card advantage going on, I'm really not inclined to concede. Yeah, the Bant Hero deck was really impressive, I agree. As someone who's arguably like the king of conceding on Twitch, like, we definitely aren't out of this game yet. Which is the tedious part, right? Like, this is a game where, like, we still have a chance to, like, do stuff, so we just have to, like, sit here with our thumbs, sit on our hands while we wait to die. Alright, that's a search for Azcanta. But they're still pretty far off of that happening, right? Yeah, if they miss and they don't have a fog, so they could have a fog, or a what's it called? The Mystic card. So I assume we're getting fogged. For those newer to Magic, Fog refers to a card called Fog that prevents all combat damage. So effects like these Root Snares in Magic, we refer to as Fog effects because they do what Fog does. Yeah, the density of Nexus decks in best of 3 has definitely gone up since they banned it in best of 1. 10 out of 10. Alright, well, I mean, if they draw a couple of lands in a row here, our Flourish does kill them next turn, which is nice. So, do you have a brick in your hand? Like, they did their thing and we were bored for a little bit, but we did eventually kill them. Hey, what's going on, Full Metal? I'm doing pretty well right now. I was a little bit sick earlier this week, so didn't have too good of a time then, but definitely feeling A-okay at the moment. I'm going to go ahead and trim my top end here a little bit. So be a little bit more aggressive and low to the ground, basically. Our only meaningful interaction in this matchup are things like Knight of Autumn and Cindervines as ways to interact with their enchantment. So we basically just want to go fast. How do you become a Twitch chat mods? The owner of a channel has to make you a moderator. Here in Hooglandia, I hand out swords to people and they've been subscribed for 12 months usually. Do they just lose if you play out of Cindervines? If I play out Cindervines and they're unable to remove it from the board, they generally can't combo us, yes. Especially if we are able to combine Cindervines with any amount of pressure. This hand's very reasonable. Turn 1 Legion Landing, turn 2 Saproling Migration, turn 3 Flip this is quite fantastic. The white Judy deck is white Weenie splashing red and black to play Judith. Okay. So next turn, I'll be able to flower, and then flip this and kind of get going. So, the Nexus deck is intentionally spelled as Sultai Nexus on my website and my YouTube video as a play on words. So, the Nexus deck that we have is intentionally typoed like that. Because it's a Nexus of Fate deck. Does it bug you? That's the perfect... I'm disappointed in myself that I didn't have that response. Does it bug you that Sultai is spelled incorrectly? I have no idea how you can craft Nexus of Fate. This is not arena support. I believe something changed from before for people that are saying it's the same as before. But I don't know the details. I already had copies of Nexus of Fate crafted. So worth noting here that red is a very small splash in this deck, and we're seeing here not having red for Cindervines is something that's coming up here. So they're at 12. We have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I have lethal in play, so they're going to have a fog effect this turn. Yep. I think I'm actually still just going ahead and doing this. I don't have anything else to do with my mana this turn. Their deck doesn't play anything like Cleansing Nova or Settle the Wreckage, so I can just kind of like keep stacking dorks into play here. So my opponent's going to continue to flail around, and then eventually they're either going to combo kill us or run out of fogs and die. Yep. And again, just like, they're just drawing a cards and making land drops at this point. If they flip through Transcanta and have Wilderness Reclamation, there's a good chance we lose. Because they do have 8 mana, so like double Wilderness Reclamation, or double Azcant activations every turn will likely bury us. Yep. Alternatively, they could already have a Nexus in their hand. Looks like that's the case. And we're not guaranteed dead at this point, but we're statistically very dead. If they take one more turn, I'm going to concede. Because they're pretty unlikely to miss from that point. Because they get to activate Azcanta twice a turn to try and find the Nexus of Fate. Which, eventually, they're going to click through and find their stuff. Another Reclamation. Alright. Alright. Call that good enough. And games of Magic like that are probably why they banned it in non-sideboarded matches in this format, because I assume they don't want games like this happening at their Mythic Invitational. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the deck broke out at the Mythic Championship if they banned it in Best of 3 as well. That'll be interesting to see, though. So far in Best of 3, Nexus of Fate decks haven't felt overpowered. They're just very dry, right? Just very, very dry. You make them show you one more Nexus. Yeah, exactly. Like once they're seeing 10 cards a turn or 9 cards a turn, like you're done. I mean, fun to play with is super subjective, Captain Love. Like, fun in general is subjective. That's why when I talk about it, I use terms like tedious. I guess tedious is subjective too, but you could kind of make, you could define objective measures for what you're using those terms to describe for sure. The Dream, thanks for checking in for the 5th month in a row. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me employed here. That's not true. You can define objective measures. You could do things like define this takes any game that takes on average this many minutes or more to win, and then like look at the data and see what happens. It's the standard version of Scapeshift? No, it's the standard version of Eggs is what it is. You can also take things that are subjective measures that a majority feel. Like, sure, some people enjoy these types of things, but a lot of people probably don't. Alright. Beat. Aggressive. Beat. Eat. Aggressive. Fallen Bowser, thank you for the brand new Prime support. I appreciate you shipping your Bezo bucks this way this month and keeping me employed. Am I dead yet? Not quite yet. Got it. Yeah, Scapeshift kills you very quickly. Like, Scapeshift is kind of dry to play against because it's very linear, but at least you die fast. I mean, Wizards of the Coast prefers creature-based decks to be the decks that are good because creature decks give you many axes of interaction with which to play Magic against them. The list of cards that allow you to interact with creatures versus the list of cards that allow you to interact with things like Wilderness Reclamation and spells are like night and day. I don't think this matters. We're gonna get fogged or whatever. They only have 3 cards in their bin here, so they're pretty far off of flipping Search for Azcanta, which is nice. They do currently have plenty of mana in play, though. So they have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They have 12 mana with Wilderness Reclamation. They kept a card on top, so I assume they're not dead here. It's another Reclamation. Another Reclamation seems like a weird one to keep on top. Biogenic Ooze. Wow, that's actually really punishing. So I used this last turn when I really didn't need to, and then they have Ooze now. Woof. Okay, so if I would have waited on the Flourish, I'd have had lethal this turn. Need a heroic reinforcements here or something meaningful. We're very dead, right? Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and concede. Yeah, I should have saved the Flower Flourish. I had them dead through a fog anyways. I don't really know why I was jamming. Yeah, the blue-green taking turns deck that made the top 4 of the finals of the SCG tournament was playing 4 Ooze in the sideboard. Yeah, Wizard of the Coast prefers creature and mid-range decks to be the best decks in the format generally, because they promote the most interactive gameplay. They provide the most avenues for you to interact with them. What does the and more look like today? After Jeskai control, we have Naya Angels and then Blue-Red Drakes. And that's probably enough for the day. 1, 2, 3, 4 more decks is like 6 hours. Yeah, that's good. Hey, good games to you too, Alex. The old looking for a match, declare a draw. Okay, okay, Arena. Okay. Sure. Not quite sure what causes that, but that's not the first time I've seen that happen. Nah, I think it's important that you have aggro decks to check stuff like that, Foxicon. Otherwise, the games devolve pretty quickly. I fought the Q and the Q won. Wild Mikado is banned in Modern because Modern used to look drastically different. Alright, I mean, this hand looks like a one-lander, but these are really like tapped lands, right? So we'll go fetch a plane, Saproling Migration into History, hopefully. I wonder how this deck does against white aggro. It's probably pretty reasonable. Especially with a curve like this, like Migration into History. Probably pretty reasonable. Don't you think aggro decks get some absurd tools these days? Everything in this standard format has absurd tools. The thing that so many people don't seem to grasp is that, like, the reason why this standard format is good and, like, previous standard formats weren't good is because of the power level of the cards we get to play with. If everything is low powered, nothing tends to be very interesting. So, like, having a high powered format tends to be what makes formats good in my experience. Yeah. People like playing with powerful cards, myself included. Playing with sweet cards is sweet. Yeah, or only one deck gets to play high power cards and everybody else is just kind of sitting around wondering what they're doing with themselves. Yeah, the control decks get Teferi and Div Visit. When is the Mythic Championship? Next weekend is the Mythic Championship. So one week from today will be the first day of the Mythic Championship. I'll probably stream next Friday morning while they're playing Limited, but I'll probably take Friday afternoon off so I can watch the standard portion. That's constructed is great. It seems inappropriate to say that creature deck allow the most axes of interaction when, if you are happiest attempting to play a creature deck, some significant portion of the game's... Well, aggro decks aren't the only creature decks, Feechilin. So your premise there is flawed because your premise is based on the fact that creature decks, aggro decks are the only creature deck. A deck like Sultai Midrange isn't just trying to curve out, and that also would be classified as a creature deck. So, creature decks take a variety of forms in Standard. Decks based around Niv-Mizzet and Gruul monsters. Like, these are decks that are based on creatures. I didn't say aggro decks are the decks that they prefer to be good. I said decks playing with creatures are the ones that tend to be good. And creatures fit into so many different shells in Magic because they're incredibly flexible. And getting their elephant back. Hey, Alex, thanks for the tier 1 sub. I appreciate that. Hope you're doing well. Interesting that they took my history there. I guess Night of Autumn pops off with it too. Oh, we're about to teach our opponent. We're about to teach our opponent a very valuable lesson. Yep. Allow me to provide a history lesson for you, dear opponent. Oh gosh, and I get to attack with 3 creatures this turn, which flips Legion's Landing, which lets me cast Flourish next turn. That seems quite fantastic for us. Oh, I'm just... Anybody who's gonna sit here and try and tell me that the Sultai mid-range deck that's curving into Krasis, and you're gonna sit here and argue with me that that's an aggro deck, I don't have time for your semantics. That's... Life's too short for me to have that interaction. I get it. I can, like, if you don't like playing with creatures, you probably don't like the format being pushed towards creatures, but, like, trying to argue that creatures aren't fundamentally more interactive than every other type of spell is just false. They're just, look at the number of cards that interact with creatures versus literally every other type of card is just, like, the numbers don't lie. Carnage, Tyrant, and Hydrate Krasis are aggressive, yep. You feel about wet weenies? What's going on, G-Butts? I think playing white weenie and not playing heroic reinforcements is silly. I think heroic reinforcements is a busted, powerful card, and I don't understand why people skip playing it. Are we exiling my history again? So, like, Deputy, Brightstar, talking about Deputy here is a great example of spending effort worrying about things that you can't control. Yeah, we've played Jeskai Weenies on stream, G-Butts, a number of times. I think it's great. I think it's quite fantastic. I'm not going to play around Deputy of Detention here, because if they had it, they probably would have played it already. So I'm going to go ahead and cast this for 8. So we get some trades here. They go to 2. If they hit Deputy of Detention, we're probably in trouble, but we don't really have lines to play around that, I don't think. Not if I want to be able to kill them next turn. Yeah, getting a +5 is a big upgrade for sure, than just +1. I do wish it gave me an option to just, like, type a number in. Can I not kill them this turn? So if they block 3 of these... Wow, I actually can't kill them, huh? Because both of these lifelink. Actually, I actually just have to, like, pump the brakes here. It's pretty unfortunate. Waiting on a Flower Flourish or a Heroic Reinforcements. I'm not counting, but I assume this is lethal. Hopefully. That's not my job to figure it out at this point. Driving in my car, beep beep. Hope no one wrecks into me. Do I bring in Tocatli Honor Guard to stop Deputy of Detentions? I think I do, actually. I think that sounds more than reasonable. Is it awkward to have Tocatli and Night of Autumn in my deck at the same time? Probably. Hey, Super JV, thanks for the 11 months. I appreciate it. Welcome back. So I'm definitely cutting Venerated. I think I keep Tristani in just because it's such a good card. And, like, I'm not always... Like, even when Tocatli's out, Tristani's still pretty reasonable. I think this is probably not worth keeping in. Let's try this. This seems fine. This just being a 1/3 for 2 is, like, also very reasonable for us against their deck full of 1 mana 2/1s. Yeah, Tristani's a non-bow, but she's good enough that I think she's worth keeping anyways. Just, like, having a creature that makes the rest of our team bigger is good, and we're not always going to have Tocatli in play. This hand's great. Needs to draw a couple of lands or a couple of flowers to find some lands, but A+ for sure. We're like a Legion's Landing on 1 away from A+, and unfortunately that's going to be impossible, even if we draw it, since we don't have an untapped white source on 1. Why pull our elephants? So, not only are the elephants anti-synergy with Honor Guard, elephants aren't good in against aggressive decks because they require you to tap your creatures to put them into play. And generally you need your creatures untapped so you can be blocking with them. That's not even, like, the question to be asking the Freak, too, because, again, like, people always assume when you have 2 cards that don't play well together, why are you assuming that you're always going to have those cards at the same time? That's just, like, not how Magic works. There's going to be a big number of games where, like, you have Honor Guard and never see a Tristani, or you have Tristani and never see an Honor Guard. You have 3 creatures in your hand, plus Legion's Landing. Is it worth it to hold Landing for the 3 creature swing, or just play? Well, you should just probably play it on turn 1. Like, just, like, use your mana. There's, like, saving it as a surprise isn't really valuable. You don't really gain much by saving it. Saproling Migration is so frustrating from the 2/1 side of the table. Just, like, pay 2 mana, like, trade 2 for 1. Correct, yes. If either card is powerful enough, it makes up for the anti-synergy between them. Completely agree with that sentiment. They have 5, 6, 7 permanents in play here, so they're 3 away from the Snubhorn Sentry turning into a 3/3. Would I leave Elephants in on the play? Not in this deck. I think this deck is pretty much always the bigger deck, the bigger defensive deck in this matchup. How do we feel about Conclave Tribunaling their landing? I think that's the play, right? It just, like, keeps them off of hitting the Snubhorn Sentry for a longer time. And, like, making this flying. So, like, there's still 2 permanents off here. They're not going to be able to play 3 mana spells. So, this seems like a reasonable line for us. We do take 6 now, which is not irrelevant. If we draw lands the next 2 turns, we should probably be a good chance to win the game. I don't think I have a reason to attack here. I think I'm just playing this out for 2 1/1s. Like, I think I'm only attacking with, like, 2 or 3 things at most, and, like, that's not really worthwhile. Now, they are going to hit the City's Blessing here, which feels a little bit bad. If they attack with the Snubhorn Sentry, I think I'm going to go ahead and triple block it. So, really hoping to draw land here so I can get Tristani going. I mean, that's kind of a land. I don't think it's worth just putting 2 more tokens into play here, so I'm just going to go ahead and pass for now. So we'll Tristani this turn, and then we'll Heroic Reinforcements the following turn. I mean, you could probably argue we're not beating Marshall anyway, so, like, talking about playing around a Marshall is, like, kind of meaningless. That card's just going to dumpster us regardless. Now that I have my land guaranteed set up, I'm just going to go ahead. Last turn, I probably would have traded with the Snubhorn Sentry, but because I'm guaranteed to play Tristani next turn, I'm not going to take that trade at this point. Do you think you can beat 4-color gates? No, probably not. Just doesn't have an efficient enough clock to beat a deck like that. Tristani notably makes lifelink tokens, so that helps us win this race by a pretty significant margin, hopefully. Yeah, I'm a little surprised they didn't buff the Sky Aspirant as well. I guess they felt getting in the hit that turn was important. This is Naya tokens. I think I just Tristani again to get 2 more lifelink tokens into play here. What was that? Did you... Was that wasn't my eyes, right? The creatures just did a little dance. Do a little dance. Do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do. This a math is for blockers moment? I feel like it is. Figure it out. Who's got 2 thumbs and is going to concede to a settler wreckage? This guy right here. So, it's worth noting, it looks like I maybe should have attacked with the Tristani, but if I attack with the Tristani, they could have blocked differently instead of double blocking one of my tokens, and then my Tristani would have died, and then I no longer have a +1/+1 for my team. So I think it's right to hold the Tristani back there. They're still dead through this Conclave Tribunal, right? They block 3 of my things, they gain 2 and go to 4, and then they take 6. I believe this is a lethal attack. They block 3. They take 5. Yeah, okay. This matchup felt pretty reasonable. And again, one of the things to think about, we played the Naya hero tokens before this. Saproling Migration or whatever that card is, the one that makes 2 1/1s for 2, that card was very instrumental in winning those games, and we would have been much, much worse off had that been hero. We got the 25th Amendment slam down hard games. The Trump deck was not all it was cracked up to be. I am planning to take tomorrow off from streaming for my regulars. I have an appointment in the morning to get my hair pinked like we agreed to. And then Sunday all day, I'm planning to do a just normal 9 to 5 stream on Sunday. I'll be around Sunday this weekend. If you're below a certain number in Mythic, you get a percentage instead of a number. You mean a pink hair celebration stream? Yeah, something like that. The Trump deck ran way deeper than just walls. It has walls, disinformation campaign, emergency powers, Dream Eater, Sinister Sabotage, just like lots of on-theme Magic card names. Well, I don't have a normal barber. I don't have a ton of hair, and usually I just like shave most of it off when it gets long-ish. I actually had to call around to multiple places because a lot of places don't have the appropriate chemicals to be able to dye a beard. Because the chemicals you use to dye a beard are different than the one you use to dye hair on the top of the head. This hand's great. Because we drew the second land, we get to go Legion's Landing into Migration here. But if you all have the idea that you're not splashing blue, you're doing it wrong. I keep seeing more and more lists adding blue. Splashing blue or outright having blue as the main color, mainly for Krasis. I think it depends on what type of deck you're trying to play, G-Buds. I think if you're trying to play mid-range and not be aggressive, you probably do need Krasis in your deck. You need to either be playing Krasis to go toe-to-toe with Krasis, or you need to be going way over the top with the control deck, or you need to be getting underneath with an aggro deck. Yep. That's probably the best explanation I've gotten from that question. Yeah, that's why a lot of folks are here. We have some okay explanations sometimes. All right, so I think I go get a land, and then I play the Saproling Migration for 2, and then next turn we plan to march for a good chunk, and then hopefully find like red plus reinforcements or something else. Why did we switch to Emmara instead of Migration? Because if they didn't have a follow-up Explorer creature, Emmara could attack in, and I didn't want to attack a bunch of 1/1s into a Wild Growth Walker. That didn't seem like a productive use of my creatures. I think I do this, and then I do this and gain 4. And then next turn I can go History into March of the Multitudes. I'm just gonna take this hit. So the Esper mid-range deck with Hero in it gets to play not only Thought Erasure, but it also gets to play Thief of Sanity to take their Krasis away from them. Yeah, I don't plan to dye my eyebrows. That sounds real dangerous. Yeah, Thought Erasure is very good for sure. So is Thief of Sanity. And, like, curving them one into the other is very potent. Alright, so this is for X is 5. And then I'm hoping to draw a Flower Flourish next turn. Alright, we just need a red source next turn, right? Who's got 2 thumbs and is conceding to finality? This guy right here. Again, the splash isn't free. I wonder if we need more red sources in the mana base. We've definitely been short red mana a couple of times today, and it's been biting us. There's only 10 red sources in this deck. That being said, if we hit one here, they are dead. Okay. Huh. Oh, I think I'm just passing. Like, they're drawing to Finality and other bombs, but I'm just, like, drawing to red sources and Flower Flourish. So I think we're ahead right now. Like, if I exiled this, they can fart this and eat one of my knights, which I'm not really interested in. I made it earlier this week, Petehead. That's my attempt, like, rather than aggressively, especially subscribers, rather than aggressively time subs out, just, like, having the command restate the rules, basically, and just be like, why should we play that card? That way I don't have to repeat myself verbally as often, either. I'm sure the regulars don't like me hearing me to have to say that as often as I do. So 10 red sources and 3 flourishes in our deck that are great draws. And I can't make a token, so I assume this is lethal. They can block 4. They block 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I have 5. This actually puts them to 1. I believe this puts them to 1. But it also gains me 10, 16, so I think I'm okay with that. I believe this puts them to 1. If they don't block all 3 of my 3-power creatures, they die, right? No, that's unfortunate. I can't cast Conclave and attack with all my creatures. They have another piece of spot removal, sure. They are dead on board exactly. However, they can Memorial to Folly and pick a creature back up here. You know, I think they messed up. I think they were supposed to trade this with a 3-power creature and then pick it back up and replay it. The Rock with the brand new Prime support. Thanks for checking in and shipping your Bezo bucks this way this month. I appreciate it. Guslit with the 7th month in a row. Thank you very much and welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. I'm going to go ahead and exile this Wild Growth Walker. So that way they have less ways to gain life. I know I could have potentially pushed lethal there, but the fact that they didn't pick the Land War Elf back up with Memorial to Folly tells me they had something in their hand that was going to help them not die. Thanks for the 2nd month in a row, J-Rock. I appreciate it. So I'd say to be a little bit conservative there based on the line that they took, and I'm glad that we did since they had Moment of Craving. Alright. That felt pretty good. I felt like we were pretty far behind that game at one point, and then we kind of just like snuck back in and pulled it out. I cut the Loxodons because I'm bringing in all the Tocatli honor guards here. Leave a couple of Conclave Tribunals. I like boarding in Ajani because it recovers Tocatli honor guard and it just grinds a little bit. This is a card that, if the board is stalled, eventually ultimates, then the ultimate wins board stalls. I pull mod swords off of people who are no longer subbed, who I don't know in real life. That's just how it works. Because half the people who are mods, like, they're mods because we get to play fun games and slay people. It's too slow for Modern Ozar. It's too slow. This build definitely feels much better than the hero-based build we played before. I think if you want to play hero in a Naya shell, the more aggressive build that we played previously with the double strike creature and collision colossus is definitely where you want to be in life. That build felt very reasonable. This hand's really good if it draws a land or two. If we draw an untapped land on 1, this hand's like absurd. And this gets us a forest to play next turn. So if we want to draw any land next turn, then we'll be in an okay spot. Perfect. So let's go ahead and do this and grab an extra green. Since I drew the 2nd white, I'll put this into play tapped, and then we'll go history into heroic reinforcements, and hopefully run them OVER. Watcher upon the threshold. Thanks for the half a year. I appreciate it. Thanks for keeping me employed here. Welcome back. History, Heroic might be able to punch through a Wild Growth Walker going off. Yep. Missile land drop, missile land drop, missile land drop. Rats. Rats. Yeah, this is... I'm really excited to see what heroic reinforcements and hero decks come out of the Mythic Championship for sure. There's a lot of awesome different things you can be doing with that. Okay, so we're at 10 here. Next turn, we're attacking for how much? I'll have 4 knights, and there'll be 5 5s plus 2 2/2s. The card shuffling sounds like farting. I'm just preparing you for what Adapt sounds like. So they think they're gonna be. So I want to make a knight before I make them bigger. And this is important because the knight that gets made this turn is going to get to attack because heroic reinforcements gives it haste. And now these knights are 5/4s, which means the Wild Growth Walker doesn't block it profitably, which is a pretty big deal here. So attack you for 20. Are they just about to, like, finality us? Just, like, Walker in to gain more? Well, there's no guarantee I Flourish next turn, Gabriel Paints. And I'd like to guarantee the Saproling Migration just for chump blockers. Wow, this attack is aggressive. I think I just go to 3. Yeah, I'm gonna go to 3. So we're hoping to draw Flourish or Heroic Reinforcements. The only one of their creatures would have died. Yeah, the Explore package is not bad. So they get to eat one of the knights with Incubation Druid. Are they going to 1? Okay. Kick it. Am I getting negated? Oh, my heart skipped a beat there. I thought we were about to get negated. I was like, oh no. Oh no. They have another Explore creature? They must have another Explore creature, right? Going to 1 is crazy if they don't. Love it. Love it. That's quite a fantastic line. Every bit of the buffalo, chat. Every bit of the buffalo. Every bit of the buffalo. Woof, that's... Okay, I mean, make 4 more dudes, I guess. If they brick, they're dead. If they brick, they're dead. No! So... I assume the auto tapper is biting them here. They definitely should have not tapped that, right? Heroic reinforcements. So, because they didn't attack with Incubation Druid last turn, they need to draw another live one. Just brick. Just brick. Woo. Got him. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, Arena, come back. Come back, I love you, Arena. Don't take a nap. You're only supposed to nap when I ask you to, Arena. Yeah, Flower's been fine with only 4 basics. You almost never need more basics than that. Alright, so we're missing half the screen, and I can't claim anything. Alright, these people are great. Buy their stuff. These people, also great. Buy their stuff. Back to Arena. Listen, anyone who thinks Arena is anywhere close to Magic Online, you haven't spent thousands of hours playing Magic Online. That's a bold claim. The pinnacle of spreadsheets in 92. Listen, MTGO is only 17 years old, okay? Don't sell Moto as being older than it is. That's not fair. It's young at heart, chat. It crashed because you left the percentages. Oh, we are at 1048. That's exciting. Go grab our second green. There are college students younger than Moto. There really are. Okay, our last build of this archetype felt really terrible against Esper control. So this build has Adanto Vanguard and most notably 4 mana Ajani in the sideboard, so I'm interested to see if it feels different. I assume this is going to take our History of Benalia here since we have 2 good 2-drops to play out. They're close enough to the same Quaddle. I'm going to post them in their own YouTube videos, but I'm not going to tweet now because we're probably going to play 1 or 2 more matches with this deck before we move on to White Weenie Splash Duty. Huh. Do I just play this? Nah, I'm going to play Growth Chamber Guardian because Growth Chamber Guardian kind of demands a removal spell. And if they play the removal spell, I can then play History of Benalia. So this is better against spot removal, but I kind of want them to tap out for spot removal because then they're tapped out, and History of Benalia can't get counterspelled. Oh, interesting. Okay. Huh. So it's important that I attack first so that way they don't trade, although maybe I'm okay with them trading. Hey, Signal Sal, thanks for the Prime support. I appreciate you shipping your Bezo bucks this way this month. If they're Esper mid-range, that's probably a much better matchup for us than Esper Control, just because we can kind of power through the card advantage from Thief of Sanity just by putting a lot of power into play. Just logged in to get timed out. We got you, Shaped Spiral. Thanks for dropping in. Welcome to a live one. Do I know where the Czech Republic is? No, I'm really bad at geometry. I'm not really familiar with where different places are located in the world. You're clever, chat. We can't get nothing past you. Those are the best trolls, the one where you can't tell if they're an idiot or if they're just joking. Oh my gosh. The Loxodon triggers Growth Chamber Guardian. Why did I not think of that? I know, like, somewhere in my head I knew that that was the case, but like watching it actually happen is completely different. That's aces right there. All right, so we're gonna Conclave Tribunal exile the Bell Haunt, smash them for a bunch. Never been timed out before. We can fix that. We got you, fam. We're not gonna leave you hanging. Actually, they don't have sweepers, right? Do I just go X is 6 and then cast the Conclave Tribunal? So I can exile this and then attack them for 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Hitting them for 14 is probably better than marching here, right? Nah, they're mid-range. I'm not playing around Kaya's Wrath. They're probably playing Esper Hero. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna march for 7. Is it only 6? It is only 6. Whoops. Oh god, I'm gonna time out because of this stupid interface. I really wish there was a max X button. Really wish there was a max X button. And I'm gonna take Bell Haunt just because it's the bigger blocker. If they want to keep hitting me with Thief, more power to them. Now, I think, like, if the Thief hits me, like, I guess I have more Conclave Tribunals or, like, Knight of Autumns they could take, but most of my cards aren't that great here. And, like, I'd much rather just, like, take their bigger blocker out. Them taking Heroic Reinforcements is a lot like if I never drew it. So it's really not that big of a deal. One of the things you have to realize in Magic is that in most games of Magic, you don't draw every card in your deck. Oh, are they about to draw step? Are they about to draw? This is, oh no! It's draw step Mortify! Oh no! It's draw step Mortify and we hit the reinforcements! Oh no! 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 It was all so perfect. It was all so perfect. Who thought playing enchantments was a good idea in this format, chat? Who possibly thought registering enchantments was a good idea in this format? Yikes. Yikes. I think we might still be ahead. I don't know. I feel bad emotionally. I'm not with it emotionally. It was scripted this way for television. Exactly. Made for TV movie. In honor of our fallen hero, the Beats. Just good clean living. I think we might still be ahead, but I feel bad emotionally. That's basically Magic summed up. Yep. All right, so they block here, here, and here, and then they take 8. They trade, eat, take 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, go to 11, go to 2. Yeah, I think we're actually done at this point. I think we're done at this point. Yeah, Vanna is really good here. Do me a favor. I know you all appreciate me because you're here. Most people that go to Reddit don't appreciate actual excitement and things like that mixed in with their magic, and they'll just complain that I'm loud. So you probably shouldn't share that post with Reddit, because they'll just be upset that I put emotion into what I'm doing. Yeah, post the geometry clip to Reddit. They'll laugh about that and say, haha, he's stupid. Alright, do I want Tocatli on our guard in this matchup? They have Bell Haunt and they have Deputy of Detentions. I probably need this card just to stop Deputy of Detentions, right? I think so. That's true. If we would have taken the Thief, our draw step wouldn't have been the Heroic Reinforcements. Everything lined up just so. It means I cut. You don't leave in Conclave Tribunal against the Mortify deck. It's just not good clean living. Just don't leave it in. Don't do it to yourself. This hand's great. Just Emmara into History on the play. If we hit a red source by 4, this is actually just like one of our best curves. This hand's like a Legion's Landing on 1 away from our best curve possible. Assuming we get to hit this on 4. And honestly, even if we don't hit this on 4, if we get to curve this into this on 5, that would be very good. Let's start by offering this trade, which I don't think they'll take. And if they do take it, that's still okay for us, because I made a 1-1. Not saying I'm sending your cries of despair from that clip as my ringtone, but I'm not saying it either. God bless. We've not. All the deck lists that are in my stream title are decks that we still have coming up later today. As I play decks throughout the course of the day, I remove them from the title of my stream. For those that are new. Always stay very organized around here. If you're interested in seeing the deck lists that are going to be played later, you can also find those on my website. So, I hit the red source. Do I heroic or do I march here? I almost think I march first, huh? Yeah, the Knight's also going to boost next turn. The problem with waiting here is if they have counter spells or... So that doesn't matter, right? So I do this for 4. Alright, cast Deceiver Exarch. Alright, ready to cast Splinter Twin, chat? Who's ready to cast Splinter Twin? I have no idea why people cut Heroic Reinforcements from these decks. I'm really excited to see what Heroic Reinforcement decks come out of the Mythic Championship, because that card is so busted, and I'm excited to see what good teams do with it. The Jeskai list is the one from my website. Someone asked me to play my preferred version of Jeskai. So if they have another blocker here, they go to 1 on this next attack. Nightmare's Thirst. Gain 1 life. Target creature gets -X/-X, where X is the amount of life you gained this turn. Alright, so they're obligated to trade Thief of Sanity for a 2/2, because if they eat each, they take exactly 6 and they die. they go to 1. I'm going to play this in case they have another Bell Hunt. If they play another Bell Hunt, they go up to 4, and then they're not dead on board, so Bell Hunt gets them out of this. It depends on what the rest of my hand is, Sags. Yeah, all the decks I play end up on my YouTube channel. Every single one of them. Today is going to be a long stream, though. I'm planning to stream for another, I don't know, probably 4 or maybe even 5 hours. So things aren't going to be published on YouTube probably until early tomorrow morning. So I have to, like, export and process them and all that jazz. I think I'm happy with how I sideboarded here. I'm going to go ahead and run it back. We have 10 red sources in our deck, which 10 red sources says we cast heroic reinforcements on the play a little over 90% of the time, which is probably reasonable. You're gonna miss some of the time, obviously, but you hit it more often than not. I think I keep this. It has a good 2-drop. It has all my colors. What do I use to build decks? Usually I just build them in the arena deck editor. This is the part where I never draw another spell and die, right? Yeah, I don't think Legion Warblast is really solving any problems that you have, and it definitely demands more red sources if you wanted to fit that. They have a fast Thief of Sanity. They have a Cry of the Canarium. Why did they keep their hand? They had no Erasure, no Hero on 2 feels strange. Wonder if they have a Mortify here. They're debating if they should just pull the trigger on it now. Could have like Thief of Sanity and a Mortify, debating on which one they want to play this turn. Next turn we get to go Sunpetal Grove, Legion's Landing, Growth Chamber Guardian, attack, make a 1/1, which is pretty reasonable. Yeah. I wonder what their other play was there. They went into the tank, so it feels like they had more than just Deputy Detention as a play there. We actually just played a build of this deck with Hero in it, and Hero was really lackluster pretty consistently. I think we're probably dead here. I don't have any removal in my deck right now, which makes us pretty bad against Hostage Taker and Deputy of Detention. Right on time, Tocatli on our guard. Right on time. Woof. Rubber banding right back into those percentages. It's very possible I should have mulliganed that hand. It's probably a bad 7 to keep. It's definitely more than a little weak. Let's play one more with Naya Hero, then we'll go ahead and move right along to White Aggro splashing Judith. This hand's super reasonable. Get to go Sacred Foundry, Flower for basic planes. Actually, we'll go Stomping Ground, Flower for basic planes. So that way I can play the planes on 2 without shocking myself and cast the Saproling Migration. Try and minimize the amount of damage from my lands. It's gonna be a nice, solid, aggressive start here on the play, though. Like Saproling into History into Loxodon. Actually, it's Saproling, History, Saproling, Loxodon. Just like super clean. Yeah, this draw is definitely gonna show what our aggressive slant looks like for sure. You got it. I wonder if they're playing elves. I assume they're not gonna attack. If they attack, I'm gonna take the trade, obviously. They're not going to trade. And their things, if their pelt collectors get bigger, they're gonna attack through my 1/1s anyways. I am not gonna take this trade here. Nah, I think I want to get history down just so it pops off ASAP. Alright, so we'd like a heroic reinforcements next turn. Woof. I didn't kick the first migration because it costs 6 to kick it. So now we're looking for heroic reinforcements or flower flourish for next turn. So if they block, they have 5 creatures, they can block this, and then 4 of these, and then they only take 5 here. I think I'm just pumping the brakes at this point. We're waiting for a March of the Multitudes. Waiting for one of our go-over-the-top cards. Heroic Reinforcements, March of the Multitudes, or Flower Flourish. Maybe I should just hold on to this in case they draw another ooze. That's a big in. More importantly, that makes Pelt Collector get to a 5/5, which is scary. This Dork tramples at this point. Really need to hit one of our payoffs sooner rather than later. I'm just going to take this hit for 5 this turn, hoping one more turn to hit a payoff. See how aggressive they want to get here. The Pelt Collector's having Trample is a pretty big game for them. I think I block like this. They can pump Thorn Lieutenant up here, but that's fine because I'm killing all their trample creatures. They're going to kill my Loxodon, and they're going to kill 2 of my 2/2s. They killed my 3/3, sure. That's not lethal anymore, is it? They have to block 3 of my creatures, and they just kill me on the backswing. That's unfortunate. Yep. Probably dead. Needed our payoffs a little bit sooner. Yeah, we already have a lot of cards like that, Aussie Pants. Like, we have Heroic Reinforcements and Flourish. Like, the problem in this game wasn't enough payoffs. It was just, like, not finding a payoff in a relatively fast enough time. If we hit March, we could still be okay. We have 2 of those. Alright, pack it up, pack it in. Let me begin. I don't think this is a Tocatli on our guard matchup. Night of Autumn's a little bit medium, though, in general. Conclave's probably marginally better. Yeah, we just played a version of this deck with Hero Precinct in it. It was not particularly good. Definitely felt worse than the build that we're playing right now. She's good against Ooze and Pelt Collector. She's, like, not really good against Ooze. She, like, stops the second Ooze, but, like, doesn't turn off the text box of Ooze that we still need to deal with. And, like, our Tristani and our Venerated Loxodon are both, like, very relevant cards to be shutting off. This hand's obviously, like, a little bit slow, but we're on the play, so I think it's okay. I'm pretty sure I'd mulligan this on the draw against an aggro deck, but on the play, I think turn 3 history into this is probably good enough. Someone was asking about Green Stompy earlier. The opponent's configuration of Green Stompy seems sweet. Nullhide Fax is a really powerful card. Just very beefy, very tough to interact with. Not efficient to interact with, I guess I should say. Play the Stomping Ground out, pass the turn. Might be right to save this just in case I draw lands naturally, but I kind of want to use my mana this turn. Yep. No blocks. Go to 18. Alright, so I have a decision to make this turn. I could Conclave Tribunal the Steel Leaf Champion, hit for 2, or I could just plan to march for 3. I think I want to just hit the Steel Leaf Champion. And then, like, plan to march for a little bit extra. Put this into play tapped. Next turn I can, like, march for 4, and then the following turn, Heroic Reinforcements. Make sure I play this Plains that they know about next turn. Yep. Be interesting to see if they take this trade next turn when I offer it. I can't imagine that they will, just because these can't block this in the backswing. It just really doesn't matter, man. they block 3 things and then take, well, more than 10. And by well more than 10, I mean exactly 10. Counting, something like that. If we have main phase, the March last turn, we could have convoked the elephant immediately. No, nope, this costs 5. I only had 4 tokens. So, if I was making 5 tokens, you're right, I could have put the Loxodon into play, but I wasn't making 5 tokens. I did actually stop and count that. I didn't mention it because we couldn't do it, but I did stop and count that far at least. Yeah, the Knight's tap to convoke, exactly. Huh. I think this is okay. They mulliganed. The worry is that, like, if they have... I guess even if they have, like, a fast 5-4, I have Knight of Autumn, which seems reasonable. And I get to curve out here, which is nice. Dig in. We'll grab a second forest. I wonder if I'm supposed to leave Growth Chamber Guardian on 2 here, just because they won't have a removal spell. It can turn up into a 4-4 right away. And play out a blocker. Play the Emmara. The Emmara is a little bit worse if they play a 5-4 this turn, though. If they don't have a play, the Emmara is better. Crashing Brontodon. Also worse against that. Just gonna go ahead and make a 4-3 here. Scary. The board's just gonna jam up here, which I think tends to favor us on average, except if they get Ooze going. Them getting Ooze going is pretty scary. Yeah. So Ooze means they just get to add endless pressure to the table every turn, and we just don't have a lot else going on. Arena is currently only officially supported on PC. However, you can play it on OS X and Linux as well if you do some finagling. Yeah, that was pretty not bad as far as draws go. Oh, it actually doesn't matter, right? Because they have Thrashing Brontodon. Yikes. Still dead. Still dead. Maybe if we find like running marches, we can go wide around the ooze. Or we could just hit another Conclave Tribunal as well. I got 2 more of those in my deck. Tristani's also not a bad draw. You know, I should have played a land that was untapped and attacked with this one as well. Could have potentially pushed points of damage. Yeah, I think that was a mistake. Now they're going to have 5/5s in play. So basically need, like, March into Flourish at this point. Even that might not be enough. Yeah, the ooze is just, like, running away with it. That's not good enough, right? Yeah, I think we're dead. Good games, opponent. So, to do a quick wrap in what we're... Do a quick wrap for this deck. as a whole, I liked this Naya tokens deck better than the build that we played with Hero in it. But overall, as far as archetypes go, this archetype really just felt pretty middling overall, regardless of which configuration we were playing. I feel like it falls into the trap of being a little bit of a bigger aggro deck, which means it has a hard time with the Wild Growth Walker matchups. And this is a slightly bigger aggressive deck that doesn't have that much removal in it. And only having 3 copies of Conclave Tribunal just means that so much of the time, like we saw Ooze just run away with it, right? Like, just not having enough answers for the must-answer threats running around in the format. If you're not going to have a bunch of answers, you need to be more aggressive on what this deck is doing. So this deck either needs to be more linear, in which case it probably turns into mono white, or it needs to be more interactive, which probably means it needs to have more removal spells than what we have right now. And past just the removal spells, not having a lot of removal spells in it, as we saw against the Esper mid-range deck where we got a little bit savage, Conclave Tribunal enchantment-based removal just leaves a little bit to be desired in the format where, you know, Crushing Canopy and